What's happening, Flipper Cricket fans? Today we're going to talk about the purpose of spinning reels and why we use them. As we know, this is nothing new. Spinning reels have been around for years. Uh, but I just wanted to share with you the way I set my stuff up. And my go-to spinning reel, this is just my go-to setup. I do have a couple other rods, different actions as far as technique-wise. So, but I'm going to just give you my all-around setup, what I utilize it for, and how I do it. I'll give you a little bit of explanation of the differences in what I use also. All right. This is another loose reel, inexpensive. This is a 300 series. Anywhere from a 20, 25, and a 30 series for bass fishing is best, in my opinion. A 20 is kind of small. A 25 is probably the best size for bass fishing. A 30 size reel is probably the most common size. This is a 30 size loose speed spool spinning reel, and actually I put braid on it. Braid for spinning helps me cut out wind knots. I don't have nearly the amount of wind knots as I did with fluorocarbon or mono, and I do use braid the leader majority of the time. I use it on, I have a rod behind me here. I have a loose speed stick, I'm sorry, and it's an all-purpose rod. It's a 610 rod. To me, that's one of the best rods I've had as far as a spinning rod for years. I use it on my shaky heads. I use it pretty much on my Nikos and all of this. But I'm going to get into the baits here in a second. But so majority of the time, I'm using my spinning reel. I'm using 20-pound test braid. Personally, I like any 8-strand braid. I personally go with suffix 832. For a spinning reel, I use 20, and I will go down to 15. That's as light as I'll go. My leaders, I'll go from 8 to 10-pound test. That's as heavy as I go on my leaders with spinning. Talked about the rod, but the things about braid, like I said before, the qualities of braid is less wind knots. It don't eliminate them, but it does help you with them. And you get a lot more distance. The same purpose as my bait casters. Now, let's talk about what lures I use with spinning gear. General rule of thumb for me, to use spinning gear, my lure has to weigh less than 1/4 of an ounce. Say 1/4 of an ounce or less. Anything else, I really don't see the purpose or the need of spinning gear. But I know there's a big fuss about the BFS reels and all of this stuff out. I have some buddies, we've been talking about them and, getting rods, purchasing reels and all of that. I personally like spinning gear, so I would choose to stick with the spinning gear. I prefer to use all my power techniques with bait casters. It just simplifies things more for me. So a bright sunny day right out there cold front, light line, small lures, I'm choosing spinning gears. When I choose those spinning gears, these would be something like what I would use. Like I said, anything from 1/4 ounce and less in weight. So the first thing I'd probably pick up, especially in the pre-spawn, would definitely be a shaky head of some sort. This is a straight tail worm. I think it's I don't know. I can't remember what it is, but it's a straight tail worm. And a shaky head, tungsten head, shaky head. And that's actually a 3/16. I use that, like I said, in the pre-spawn, really all year round, majority of the time. I keep it tied on. And I use a Nico on my spinning. And that's really just a Ned, not a Ned, but a lead head with a wacky rig worm hooked in the middle. I used a little clear keeper for it, and I hooked the hook with my Nico, little tip and trick while I'm up here. I use a #1 VMC with the fluorocarbon weed guard, and I used a little clear plastic slip-on O-ring, but I'll take it And instead of hooking in the worm or around the O-ring, I hook directly through. Let's see if we can get it in like that. And that way, I don't have any obstruction. My hook will slide, the worm will slide, and all of that, and it go through. Instead of sliding it directly through the hook, the O-ring, I use it through there. A lot more durability out of that. So these two baits with my spinning gear, my main line is 20-pound test, and I'll probably do 10-pound fluorocarbon to these two. Now, with my moving lures, I'm going to go a little lighter. The action on my rod will change, and I'll change up my braid to leader combination. So with these two here, this is a swim bait, probably a 1/4 ounce head. This is a smaller swim bait, just, for video purposes, but a 1/4 ounce head most likely. And everybody know what this is. It's wintertime outside, and if you're not throwing one of these, you're probably not catching fish much. And if it's not time for you to fish yet, when it's time, you need one on. I'll have 15-pound braid to, depending on the day and the water clarity, it will be 8 or 10-pound test. If it's a little dingier water, 10-pound test. If it's a little clearer water, 8-pound test. But my rod is the most important in this situation. The spinning reel has the 15-pound test to 8, the 10-pound leader, but my rod will be a medium, moderate action rod. It'll be a rod that has a lot more whip in it. We call it limber or, softer tip or whatever you choose to call it, but it'll have a little bit more whip in the tip, limber action rod, medium moderate. And that helps me to get a super long cast. 15-pound test would probably outcast 20-pound test about another 15 to 20 yards. And that can make all the difference when we have to get it off of the fish and cast up to them and bring something soft and subtle through the schools. So spinning gear, to me, is essential. Why do you need BFS? BFS reels may be good for you, but definitely I don't see the purpose or the need. Is it a fad, or will it stay around for years to come?